Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to explain why the minimum wage is an immoral and impractical policy. So to begin with, in a capitalist system, every single transaction is based on voluntary trade. It's voluntary. It's based on each person using their mind to decide this transaction is in my best interest, and the other person saying this transaction is also in my best interest, so let's make the transaction. It's a win-win transaction. Now, what a minimum wage does is it imposes a price floor that prevents any transactions below this price, any hirings below this price from occurring. But people might want to engage in that transaction. They might find it as a win-win transaction for them. But the government comes in and says, no, you can't make this transaction, which I find to be immoral. This is a win-win transaction that's being prevented by government interference. So yeah, that is generally an immoral thing because it prevents people from using their own minds, using their own heads, using their own actions, having their own freedom to choose what price they want to work for. It prevents these transactions of lower prices. It also has a very negative effect on workers and on the economy in general as more practical or as the pragmatic approach to this situation. It has a very negative impact on the economy because when you set a price floor, there is a surplus of that good. This is because when the price is higher, there's going to be more people who want to supply that good and less demand for it, because when a price is higher, you demand less. When a price is higher, a supplier will supply more because they're making more. And in this case, the supplier is the worker. They're supplying labor. And in this case, the demander is the producer who is employing these laborers. So they will hire less laborers, and there will be more laborers who want a job. And this leads to a surplus of labor, which is unemployment. So generally, this leads to less jobs. And I know you can cite whatever study or something that happened where they studied it in the raising minimum wage, but this has to be because of other factors, because this is literally a law that you can deduce from reality. There's no logical inconsistencies with this. This is literally economic fact. It's not something that you can't disprove. Something that has been shown to be true rationally. You can't disprove reality, basically. If something has to be the case rationally, it's gonna play out in reality. You can bend and twist the numbers all you want, but if something is the case, if something is rationally discovered through reason based on reality, and there's no premises in here that are not based on reality, you can't contradict it with some anecdote. You need to point out logical inconsistencies in the argument, and nobody can really do that because it is a logically consistent argument. It's based entirely on human action. So unemployment generally leads to fewer jobs, and because just basic economic laws. This is how the market works. And employers will hire less workers as well, because when your input costs go up, you employ less of those inputs. Employees are an input, labor is an input. When that price goes up, which is the wage, they are going to use less of that resource, and they might transition to capital, they might transition to automation, things like that, because the wages are so much higher. And when the wages increase, who generally gets hired? It's not going to be the lower class, low skilled person that the altruists want it to be. That's not the case. It's going to be the more higher skilled person. So this absolutely hurts low skilled labor, because low skilled labor needs these lower wages to survive, because they don't produce as much output generally. They're not as productive as someone with higher skills. So an employer is not going to be as willing to hire them when the price is higher. So ultimately, raising the minimum wage hurts the lowest skilled people that these altruists are absolutely obsessed with protecting, but it hurts them the most because those are the people that get laid off. So, I mean, this is one example of where pure capitalism, unregulated capitalism, would lead to more jobs, would lead to more prosperity for more people. And it's one, I mean, this is one argument against welfare in general too, because there would be a lot less poverty, a lot less people who need welfare if the minimum wage didn't exist, because people could work for lower wages and it'd be okay. Plus, if you can work for lower wages, you can lower prices of things, which is a very good thing as well. Which is very good for the poor people as well, because when you lower the prices of things, they can buy it more easily. So, in general, the minimum wage has a lot of unintended consequences that are very negative, and which makes sense because it's an immoral policy. Morality is practicality. That is that's always the case. What is moral is what is practical. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.